Greetings and blessings, everyone. James Thomas Devitt, Blue Star Spiritual Group, Blue Star Temple. Today starts a series of videos from the Blue Star Temple Spiritual School. Sorry for my voice. Still recovering. Had a tube down my throat during the surgery on Wednesday, so my throat is still a little, not completely back to normal yet, but it's moving in the right direction. Today's topic is spirituality in the 21st century, with a little bonus part with regards to dealing with individuals who are not spiritual or who have very different views than you do, but who are not very tolerant of other people's views. But we're going to focus first on spirituality in the 21st century. Now, of course, to do this, we need to go back a little ways. To go back a little ways is important to give understanding. Back at the beginning, during Lemurian and Atlantis times, as the volunteers began to forget who they were, religions were created, but they were more spiritual embodiments more than dogma-filled religions. From these first spiritual religions, shall we say, as they moved out, and as the destruction of Lemuria happened and the destruction of Atlantis happened, the individuals from these two places went out amongst people and began teaching. People from Lemuria went down into South America, like in the Peru area, who taught the Aztecs. They actually say that underneath Lake Titicaca, which is in the southern part of Peru near Cusco, and not far from Machu Picchu, was a city, which is now under the ground, or under the water rather. And this spirituality also influenced the Mayans, the Egyptians, from the Atlantis priests and priestesses. You had the Egyptian religions were created, the Greek religions were created, and even the Druid religion was created. In the Mayan tradition, you have Quetzalcoatl, who was Caucasian white, who came to the land of the Maya, taught them all about astrology, time. That is where they gained their information for the Mayan calendar. We know some things about the Maya. We know a lot less than what we could, because you see, there was actually over 1,000 different codexes that the Mayans had created, and there's only 4 remaining today. The rest have been destroyed by Catholic priests who came over with the Spanish. I sometimes wonder about that. How different would we view life on this planet had the great Library of Alexandria not been destroyed? If all of those documents and scrolls and books had survived? It is said that Plato, who talked about Atlantis, got his information from very ancient manuscripts and scrolls. From these religions, you had the worship of many different gods and goddesses, which in a way you have today with Hinduism. But it's like with the Druids. The priests and priestesses of Druidism, they worship many different gods and goddesses, but they understood that all gods was one god, all goddesses was one goddess, and God goddess was one. The different gods and goddesses were simply different aspects of God or the goddess. And then, of course, it went from that to a single God religions, Judaism being the first of those. And then, of course, Egypt went that direction. And then, of course, Christianity, Islam. So today, what we have is a very interesting conglomerate of religions, beliefs on this planet. So the first thing that we have to ask ourselves is, why? Why were religions created? I mean, personally, I love the fact that you have those within the religions of today who actually believe that if you don't believe the way they believe, then you don't believe in God. Because only God believes in their dogma, apparently. I mean, you look at it, you got Christianity with over 3,000 different denominations. The biggest, of course, is the original, the Catholic. There's over 1 billion Catholics in the world. There's over 1 billion Muslims in the world. There's probably over 1 billion Hindus in the world as well. The purpose of religion was a very simple reason, very simple purpose. With religion, it enabled people to believe in things that went beyond their 5 senses, beyond their eyes, their hearing, smell, taste, touch. And it got them to believe in the unseen. But how much do they really believe? I mean, Christians believe in the afterlife. And they believe as Christians that they will go to heaven and they'll be with God and Jesus and so on and so forth. And yet the majority of Christians that I've met and known over the years fear death. Why would you fear something that is supposed to be so wonderful, so great? But the real purpose of it was to force individuals to look beyond, to get them curious, to get them striving for more information, striving to open those doors of knowledge and awareness and become more aware of who they were. And the interesting aspect here is in the story of Adam and Eve, it was like, all right, you guys can do whatever you want to do. You can eat from whatever you want to eat from. You just can't eat from this one tree, which is the tree of knowledge. So they created a scenario where they kind of created that a serpent was Satan. And this serpent coaxed and swindled its way into Eve and got her to eat from the tree of knowledge. And then, of course, Eve got Adam to eat from it. God got really pissed off and said, yeah, banish you both. Now you know good from evil, you know right from wrong. You must go out and experience light and dark. And because of this, of course, women have been oppressed for a very long time. And men think that they are the only connection with God. Don't get me started on that one. So, in the late 19th century, in England, we had the start of the Theosophy Society. One of its most colorful and famous members was Madame Blavatsky. And this really started the whole scenario of mediumship, speaking to those who had crossed over. Now, of course, back in ancient times, like in ancient Greece and everything like that, you had oracles, which were basically channelers. They would tune in or go into a trance-like state and bring information through from the other side. Everything from wars that were going to happen to financial things, whatever it might be. But with the Theosophy Society, a program was started. And this program was all about beginning the process of awakening the volunteers. Now, we went into the early 1900s and ended up with World War I, which was horrendous for many, many people. Trench warfare, poison gas, it was horrendous. And then, of course, coming out of that, approximately 15 years later, you had the great stock market crash of 1929, the Great Depression. Many people weren't overly focused on matters of spirit. They were more inclined with matters of survival. Religion, of course, was very strong and powerful during this time, as it had been for a very long time. For thousands of years. But then after World War II, it became a time of things changed. Like in America, it was like the late 1940s and the 1950s were almost like a golden era for America. Most people had jobs. They did rather well for themselves. There was an extremely strong middle class. Many women could have children and be a housewife and a mother and not have to worry about working. And then, of course, the 60s came and things began to change. And the Great Awakening began in the late 60s, into the 70s, and then into the 80s. Moving into the 80s, we started getting channelers. I remember in January 1987, I had begun awakening, really awakening, in 1986. And in January of 1987, I saw a two-part mini-series called Out on a Limb by Shirley MacLaine. And it was all about her spiritual search. She had gone to Sweden and had sat in and listened to a man channel. She had gone down to Peru. It was all about her life, what her search for her own spiritual truths. But it was the first time I'd heard about channelers and healers and things like this. And of course, back then, a lot of the channelers were women. One of the earlier channelers in the early 80s was a woman named Tuella, who did a book that was published in 1982, the year I graduated high school, called Project World Evacuation. And it was basically channeled from the Ashtar Command. And there was channelings from many different beings from the Ashtar Command. And this was basically in the late 70s, early 80s, the choice had not been made on what was going to happen on this planet. And so they put this book out, and it was a potential. It wasn't what I would term a very strong potential, but it was a potential. And then, of course, by 1987, the potential was gone. But there are still people today who believe that the Ashtar Command and the Space Brothers and Sisters are going to come down and swoop everyone away, and away we go, and it's not going to happen. And yet channelers like Solara, JZ Knight, so on and so on. I started channeling in 1989. You've got Lee Carroll and Steve Rother, many other channelers as well. And at one time, when I first learned Reiki myself, Reiki was not very mainstream. It was very much in the back, in the back rooms and everything. Whereas today, Reiki is very mainstream, and I mean, most people, even non-spiritual people, oh yeah, I've heard of Reiki. Yeah. Things have been changing. Now, one thing that I've been noticing is there are, believe it or not, quite a few people moving away from religion. But we also have the new volunteers. We have young people coming onto the planet who are very spiritual. But they don't go to church, they don't believe in church, they don't believe in religion. You wouldn't even find them at a channeling session. You probably wouldn't even find them in a group like The Way. But they are very spiritual. They are very connected. They view things differently. We are in a time of transition. We are transitioning away from dogma-faced religion. Now, mind you, you watch the news, you watch different things, and you go, oh, no. It's just as strong as it used to be, but it's really not. I mean, here in New Zealand, I believe at the last census, the number of people who actually classified themselves as religious was less than 50%. And it's moving in that direction. You wouldn't think that way, but it's true. It would be very fascinating to go to an Islamic country and find out just how many people aren't really into Islam. Of course, they think that they are because it's an Islamic country and it's a religious-based government. It's a religious-based country. We are moving away from religion. It's about the connection from the heart to heart. It's about God manifest. So what we are moving towards now, and what we will continue to move towards, especially over the next 100 years. Look, 100 years from now, actually, when we hit 2,100, right? You're not going to have any channelers. Oh, I seriously doubt if you'll have any Reiki masters out there. It's very possible that you'll have people teaching yoga or, something similar to yoga or Pilates, something like that. But I don't think you're going to have these types of things. And although there may still be those religious people, their numbers will go way, way down. It's like, imagine, if you will, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, the Greek gods and goddesses were the flavor of the day. They were. That was like the religion on the planet. Now, most of us would look at that and go, yeah, that's old news. Come on. But there are still people today who believe in the old Greek gods and goddesses, still worship them. Okay? There are people who still follow Druidism. There are people who follow the Egyptian religions, the ancient ones. These groups are very minor groups, very small numbers of people. And as we continue moving forward in the 21st century, it's going to move more and more that way. The one constant in the universe is change. Okay? It's the one constant that you just can't get away from. Right? There's a lot of people out there who claim to be spiritual. And in their own way, I'm sure they are. And these people don't discern. They create an agreement with somebody, and the parties show up, and one person's discerning, the other one's not. The one that's not ends up running away in fear because they've listened to other people instead of actually listening to their own heart. So the other person is standing there going, what the? Which one of these are you? Do you focus more on what Joe Blow over here says than on what your own heart says? Within religion, within spirituality in general, we keep things very, very simple. Within religion, it's like, believe as I believe, and you will go to heaven, and it'll be beautiful, and it'll be wonderful, and you won't have to worry about anything, and it'll be great. If you don't, you'll go to hell, and you'll burn for all eternity. Very simple. Within the New Age metaphysical realm, right? We've kind of covered this before. People talk about the ascension. We're going to ascend into the fifth dimension. And everything's going to be perfect and wonderful. In truth. All right, I know I'm joking around a little bit, but in truth, in this universe, it is very complex. The complexities are endless. There are a vast array of beings out there. Many with their own truths, their own beliefs, cultures, ways of being, everything. There are those who don't like to play well with others. For the most part, many of them get along just fine. Spirituality in the 21st century is an inward journey. You come into groups like The Way to be able to interact and mingle with others who think as you do. Doesn't mean that they have the same beliefs totally as you might have. But you can communicate, you can talk, and you can be yourself without judgment, without trepidation. You can just allow yourself to express yourself. and others can express themselves, and they express some of their beliefs, and you're going, wow, I never thought of it that way. I never thought about that. And it expands your awareness and expands how you view things and how you think about things. And that's what's great about groups like this. But the journey, the actual journey, is yours. Spirituality in the 21st century is about focusing yourself to connect with God at that soul level. To do the things that you need to do to open the lines of communication between yourself and spirit. To take the blinders off and start noticing the signs that are there. Spirituality in the 21st century is about recognizing the fact that we're not at the end of the journey. What we've done is we've completed the beginning. The journey still has a long road. We are evolving. We are changing. Being spiritual in the 21st century means that you can look at somebody and see the God within. Cherokee, you commented about the fact that you're staying with your in-laws for a week or two over there in Queensland, where it's nice and hot, Australia. How they are Christians. You feel very stifled. First thing is to look at them and realize God's within them just as much as God is within you. The other thing to remember is, very likely in another incarnation, in another lifetime, they weren't Christians. They may have been Hindus or Muslims or Jews. Perhaps they didn't believe in anything. This is one incarnation. It's a drop in the bucket. What you can't do is take things too seriously. Being spiritual in the 21st century is about recognizing games. Recognizing the games that other people are playing. The games they play with each other to get energy, to try and manipulate and control each other. You don't have to play. You can pretend to play, but walk away chuckling to yourself going, and you actually think I don't understand or don't see what's going on. But that's their lessons, that's their experiences. If you want to participate, it's your choice. Be conscious about it. Be conscious about your what you think about, what you choose about, your interactions with other people. This is what being spiritual in the 21st century is all about. It's about connecting more with who you truly are. Now, there are individuals such as myself that are there to assist people with opening up doorways. Janice does tarot readings, and I go into the Akashic Records and I bring information out for people. And I do the Skype sessions. And there are other people who do astrology charts. And there are people who, do psychic readings or mediumship or whatever. These are tools that we've been given to assist other people as well as assisting ourselves in opening these doorways so that we become more in tune with who we are. That is what spirituality in the 21st century is all about. It's about becoming more of who you truly are. And I can already hear the phrase coming. I can already hear what's being said. But the more I become who I truly am, the less I can interact with other people. Because they are so foreign to me. They don't understand me. They don't have to understand you. There's a lady I work with. She's Maori. She's about 64. She comes from that generation of Maori that wasn't allowed to speak te reo. She's very spiritual. She's very in tune with things. But she won't really go there. We talk about spiritual things from time to time at work. And I think she talks to me because she knows I understand. I get it. I know what I'm talking about. But with most people, she wouldn't give time of day on anything spiritual. And sorry, it's almost like she's waiting for her next life. She's at that point where she just, things have changed so much that she just, no, she doesn't want it. Whereas most people that I work with, I would never breach any of these topics with them at all. I talk to them about very generic things. Which brings me to this second part of this video. Dealing with people who don't view things the way you do. Now, I will admit that my inspiration for this is Carolyn Rose, who you and I have had many conversations with regards to you and your family and, you know, their views on your beliefs and things. And it can be very challenging. And I have met heaps of people, literally heaps of people, who are married, who are very spiritual, who believe in the extraterrestrials, and they believe in the healing of you know, hands-on healing and all of these different things, channelings and so on and so forth. But their partner, doesn't believe in it at all. And they get really frustrated over that because it's a part of themselves that they can't share with their partner. Now, I will admit wholeheartedly that I am very, very fortunate in this regard because Janice, we have the exact same beliefs. I have channeled for Janice numerous different beings for over 16 years now. And, yeah. So in that regard, I'm very fortunate. But I know that there are a lot of people who don't have that. Here it comes down to choice. Why are you with that family? Why are you with that partner? Why do you have these people as your siblings? they're so different from you. Because you chose to be where you are. You chose your family. I chose mine. My half-sister and her husband are Southern Baptists. Terry became a Southern Baptist same time I did. Same church. I was 15 and she was 16. And she is still a Southern Baptist today. And she knows, and my brother-in-law knows, that my grandmother is the one who put me onto this spiritual path that I have walked since 1986. And she has actually said to me that I'm going to go to hell. So generally I would not talk to her or my brother-in-law about this. Now mind you, in truth, I didn't hang out with them much. I haven't lived around them hardly at all. Perhaps 3, maybe 4 years since I was 17 years old. Next week or fairly soon now I become 52, so not a lot of time. But a lot of people do have that situation in their life. And you have choices. You can either walk away or you can just not breach those subjects with those people, or you can talk about it and anyway, which was only going to make them feel uncomfortable. For many people, how other people view them is really, really important. And there are people who believe in these types of things, but wouldn't admit it if their life depended upon it, because it might make them look bad to everybody else. Then, of course, it's like they don't believe in it because in this lifetime, they're not meant to believe in it. They don't want to believe in it. Their focus is elsewhere. Their focus is different. But things are changing. I believe in one thing that I have found in that scenario. I've learned a great deal of tolerance for other people. I see what other people do to each other. I have seen what people do as far as what they say about people, behind their backs, in front of them, whatever. And sometimes it really upsets me in many ways. But generally I don't say much of anything. I don't interfere. Now some disagree with that. Some say, oh, but you gotta speak up. But I speak up when it feels right to do so. This is also about trusting in your own heart and guidance. If there are people in your life that don't believe as you believe, so what? The only person that can decide what you believe is you. The only person that can decide what they believe is themselves. Now, my mother didn't believe in this stuff. She knew I was involved in it very much. My mother was a Christian, not to the same degree as Terry and Doug, but still. But my mom never judged me for my beliefs. And she actually said to me, all I know is that you know things that I don't know. And you know things that nobody I know knows. And there's something very different about you, and that's a good thing. But I don't understand it. And she would generally never say anything other than that, and that was fine. And I didn't push it in front of her, and I didn't force it on her. And that's the key. You don't force it. I've seen some of the young people who are very, very spiritual. Some of them actually believe in tarot. You know, they'll get a tarot reading now and then. But for the most part, if you met them, you would go, oh, they're not spiritual. Not religious, not spiritual. It's like they don't really believe in any of that stuff. But they really do. But it's changing. And when you leave this world and you come back, you're going to be more like them. So right now it's about finding out who you are. Sharing that space with those individuals that can relate to who you are. Which gives you a sense of family and home and gives you a sense of belonging. And those who are in your family or around you who don't believe in what you believe in, love them anyway. If you really look at them, you'll see that God is within them just as much as God is within you. They have their own path. They have their own lessons to learn. Their path is crossed with yours. But perhaps there are different reasons for that interaction. Don't judge situations. This isn't a competition. You're not in competition with anybody. What this is about you becoming who you are here, now, today. Spirituality in the 21st century, it's about being able to acknowledge that you are part of all that is. You have no obligation, and you should never even think that you should be going out and trying to get other people to believe as you do. In this day and age with the internet, you can find other people who believe as you do. You can find individuals where you can go and explore your spirituality like the way and just enjoy and be part of something really fantastic. It's not important to push your beliefs on other people. You don't need validation from other people that what you believe is real for you. The only validation you need is within your own heart. Spirituality in the 21st century, it's a heart thing. It's not about reading a book and saying, this is the truth. Or looking at a book and going, that's the actual words of God. No. It's words of man. Where I come from, I don't look anything like this. I actually look better. like all of you, I came here. And for myself, I've remembered a great deal about who I am, where I come from. I'm connecting with individuals that I know from home, who are more like me than even they realize. But here, you look at us and you go, oh, you guys aren't very much alike at all. But you peel the layers like an onion and you go, whoa, wait a minute, you guys are very much alike. You know, family per se, but wow, you know, it's there. With everything I've remembered, different lifetimes that I've lived, things that I've done. Oh, I haven't even remembered 30% of my true self. If you can remember 5 to 10%, you're doing great. There's reasons around that too. This is all about, and the focus now is all about us preparing the path. We prepare the path by working on ourselves, by opening that connection between our heart and God. Because it's already there within our heart. We just have to open the door. Feel that connection. You hold something as truth. Don't make it rigid. Make it fluid. If it still holds true 5 years from now, it's still true. But in 2 years' time, it may no longer be true. Something else has replaced it, a different truth, a new truth. Because as you move through the levels, as you go different levels higher and higher, some things that you had as truths in one level fall away and new truths replace them because you've reached a new level of awareness, of understanding. There are some things that today you wouldn't get even if someone like myself explained it to you. 6 months from now, I could explain the exact same thing and you'd go, I understand. We are always moving, we are always growing. Spirituality in the 21st century, it's your invitation to become more of who you truly are here. Acknowledging and recognizing that you are a spiritual being who is having a physical experience by your own choice. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Don't get into arguments and fights with other people because they believe different things than you do. Don't get into arguments and fights because they can't see your point. Pick your battles. Believe what is in your heart. Hold tight to what is in your heart. Fluid, not rigidly, but hold tight to it. And allow others to do the same with their own beliefs. We are in a time of transition. Things are changing. Within 2 to 3 generations, this world is going to look very different. And for all those who come back, it's going to be a different world, a new way of being. Focus today on you, opening that door within yourself. Utilize what you need to assist you in getting to where you need to be for you. Don't judge other people. And if other people wish to judge you, listen to them. Nothing says you have to take it on board. After all, it's only their opinion. Many blessings unto all of you. Soon, I'll be doing a video with an introduction, more of an introduction to the Blue Star Temple and what we're going to be teaching in the videos like this that we will be doing. I am also going to do something a little bit differently, because I'm basically saying, well, I'm opening up a spiritual school, spiritual teacher, which mind you I have been for over 20 years, but I think you need to know my background, the experiences I've had, the things I've experienced that have put me where I am today. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue to heal and recover from my surgery. Love each other. Bless each day. Be who you truly are. Blessings, peace, and love.